discussion that we've had today has been so relevant in terms of the SIATE project and where we're at in the project, because we are at a point where we've got to write these national papers, you know, policy briefings, and it's how do you get the impact? How do you make them work? You know what I mean? So this has been really very useful for me, and I hope for some of our colleagues in the partnership, the sort of management group. But again, look, I mean, I wasn't involved in leading a group, so what I might do is I might ask my colleagues to come up perhaps one at a time. But we did have some very interesting discussion, and as we go through, you okay with that? Where's Michael? Michael, you okay with that, Michael, as well? In a minute, because there were some really interesting points, and we felt that we wanted to really hear from each organisation as opposed to just from me, you know, because I don't know anything. We've got Kira. Who was it? Sorry? Kiara.
And Julia.
Kira. In Ireland it would be Kira, but we'll call you Kiara. But okay, Julia's we're gonna feedback first for us.
Shall I go first? Okay. So initially, I'm going to read out the question first. So the question was, how can educators assess a person's entrepreneurship skills? So firstly, we identified what kind of skills we need to find in a person, and these were soft skills, the field of interest, the work experience, the attitude, and the emancipation. And then we kind of created like a 4-step guide to help these young entrepreneurs really become an entrepreneurship. Okay, so we thought that the educators should help connect students to an organization which they are interested in, and they might, so help to connect with this organization. And the second step was help create a training or a course that this organization might offer to the people interested in this, and this could be done through courses, and it would help the person to be oriented, yes. The third step was to give the possibility to trainees to have a hands-on experience within an enterprise that is already there. And then after the hands-on experience, this would enable and empower the person to understand whether this is something they want to continue doing or not.
This is Michael from VUC Fyn.
We're teaching adults, and a lot of our students have a lack of basic skills and lack of self-confidence. So before we can talk about entrepreneurship competence, you have to build up these skills. So of course you have to build up basic skills, reading, writing, math, digital skills, etc. But you also have to have focus on the students. They have to learn to express themselves, have to make activities that make them feel confidence with the school, with the teacher, with the co-students. So basic, you have to build up the students before we can talk about entrepreneurship competence. You have to focus, as a teacher, you have to, I know what I find interesting, but I have to focus on subjects students feel connected to. So I have to find out that. And last, we write down, get the world into the classroom, or get the classroom out in the world. We have to invite people to our classroom, or we have to get out in the world and study the world. Yes?
I mean, that was the key message that when we get to the policy makers, it's going to be around, let's get back to reality. A lot of our students, they don't have the core basic skills to even think about being entrepreneurs, you know. So, and again, Rasmus, I don't know, we were talking about the need to get the funders to understand that the world of work is changing. You know, and we're not as reliant now. We need the practical skills developments. You know, the university subjects we've got too many architects, you know. Do you know what I mean? Too many engineers. We need plumbers. You know. Okay, Cheryl, would you like to come up?
So I'm also an educator at BUC in Denmark, and I teach only English. So welcome to my classroom. But basically what we talked about is education is a cycle. Everything is about what are we doing, how are we doing it, how are we evaluating it, what are our students saying about it. So I'm not going to read you all my little lists, but I'll give you a quick overview. Basically, as an educator, it's important for us to remember we're not the expert. We are mentors. We're walking our students in one small stage of their life, and we need to get them to the next. And by being positive, by finding out what's their interest, inside the reign of what the school regulations are, how do we meet that state need and meet our students' need? And they're not always the same. And it's about being outside the box. I'm an American, as you can hear, and I live in Denmark. So I went from outside a box into a box, and then I came back out as an educator, because it's really important for me to discover what do they want, what do they already know. They know so much. They just have a lack of confidence. So as an educator, it's my job to get them to the steps where they need to be, building on who they already are, not reinventing them, not telling them who they should be, but accepting who they are and letting them have those goals. So, how can we do that? Through game-based learning theory. I've been working in an esports program where we actually play video games. So in order to do their assignment, which is write me a summary, they have to use their own skills to get through the game. They have to show that they know how to do things. And it's by recognizing who they are that we as educators can help them be who they want to be.
I was just picking up on that point about the esports. I mean, we've just come out of a project called Games-Based Training. I don't know if you want to say anything about it, Rasmus. But basically what we were doing there, we were looking at digital games, but we were also using, and I know people can argue that they weren't games, but role plays in the classroom. So what we had one of the partners was a third level adult education college in London called City Lit. And what they would do, they were teaching people English, so it's English as a second language, but they were teaching people English, and they were using, I mean, some of the people were interested in working in cafes or restaurants or bars or whatever, so they were using role plays around maybe a customer complaining about the tea or the coffee or something, but they were doing the role play in English. They were then feeding back to the people that were involved in the role play, so their English was improving, and they were developing the vocational and work skills and building on the strengths that they already had. So there's some interesting projects out there, and again, esports, it's something that VUC again are pioneering, in my opinion, certainly in Europe at the moment. So I suppose the message for policymakers is, look, we need to get back to basic core competencies, and that may mean that we have to retrain some of our teachers. We have to open our teachers up. The teachers need to be more innovative in their approaches and be open to that, as opposed to just sort of doing the institutionalised teaching bit, you know. So, thank you.